All right, I want to talk a little bit about FICA taxes. So this will help all you bookkeepers out there and also give you some background information on what taxes are being withheld from your own salaries. So I'm going to talk about the two different type of taxes that make up FICA. We're not talking about federal income tax being withheld. We're just talking about Social Security and Medicare when we're talking about FICA taxes. So I'm going to break it down in two different ways. If you're an employee, how it happens to in your paychecks, and then we're going to talk about what happens if you're self-employed. Okay, so FICA taxes they're just called FICA taxes, and they're both types of taxes, Social Security tax and Medicare tax combined. You, by law, employer has to withhold these taxes from your paycheck. So if you're an employee and you have a salary, you earned $100, okay? How are those taxes withheld? So how this happens is it's broken down into two different, it branches out. It's the employer portion and the employee portion. Okay, so when you're hired, the cost of your salary, obviously your boss is paying you the salary. But the boss also has to pay the employer portion of the Social Security and Medicare taxes. So it's an additional cost to them. So when they hire you, they have not only the cost of your salary, but the additional employer portion of your taxes and also any benefits that they're going to give you. So those are the costs of hiring employees. So if they're going to pay you $100, the employer has to pay 6.2% of whatever your salary is for the Social Security tax. Okay? So in this case, it's going to be 100 times 6.2% is $6.20. Okay? They also have to pay Medicare tax 1.45% of your salary. Okay, so that's going to be $1.45. That's additional cost to them on top of the $100. Okay, so what about you? What are you paying? You're paying the exact same amount into the Medicare system and the Social Security system on your own behalf. So all of these funds, as we talked about in different sections in the textbook, they go into a fund. You're not guaranteed those funds. You're paying into Social Security and Medicare. You're not guaranteed that whatever you paid in, you get to pull out. It's a fund for all of us that we pay into, and we're required by law to pay into it. So when you get paid $100, you're not seeing this. This is an expense to the employer that they get to deduct on their income statement as a employer portion of the taxes. So you're really not seeing that. But what you are seeing on your paycheck is you're going to see $100, and then you're going to see a deduction for your portion of Social Security and your portion of Medicare. So you're not actually getting, as we all know, the $100. You're getting $100 less this amount, less any federal income taxes you're paying into, state income tax, all of that, and then your net paycheck is usually well below your gross. Okay, so that's how you're being taxed currently as an employee. All right, so let's talk about what happens when you're self-employed. All right, now you're self-employed, and how do you do this FICA Medicare? Because often you're not even paying yourself a salary. All right, when you're self-employed, right, you're obviously both the employer and the employee, so you have to do both sections of this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our net self-employment income. So let's say whether you're paying yourself a salary or not, let's say I'm a I don't know, for lack of anything else I can think of, I'm a dog breeder, right? I breed German Shepherd dogs. So how much income did I make from this endeavor? Let's say I made $12,000. I didn't pay myself a salary, but every time I bred the dog and got the puppies, I got $12,000 as income, above and beyond all of my other expenses. That's my net income, right, from my self-employment endeavor. So that becomes my salary, $12,000. That's what I earned. So that's what I have to pay. So FICA taxes on Social Security and Medicare. All right. So I take the net self-employment and I multiply it by 9.235. This gives you the earnings before self-employment taxes. It kind of grosses it up for you is what it's doing. I'm looking at the Schedule SE. And when you take a look at the Schedule SE, follow along what I'm doing here, because all of these, you don't need to memorize all of these, 0.9235, you don't need to memorize, they're all listed out here, but I want to kind of show you what's going on behind this form so you understand what self-employment taxes are. Okay, so you take your net self-employment income, you're going to put it in there, and then you multiply it by 0.9235, and if that maybe looks familiar, what that is it's 100% less the 7.65 is what that is, and that's where they're getting that, and it's grossing it up, so it's telling you what your income is without the ER portion of the taxes. Okay. Because only the employer portion is a deductible business expense. And this is where it gets a little confusing sometimes with self-employment taxes, because you'll hear people say, oh, I'm self-employed, I pay more taxes than other people, which isn't the case. But what it is you're just paying both sides of it. But this side is a deductible expense, just like it is for your boss. If you're an employee, they get to deduct this. When you're self-employed, you get a deduction for the employer portion, okay? So that's what this form is doing, is it's telling you what is the deductible portion before taxes and what is the after-tax portion that you're responsible for. It's breaking it out for you. All right, so only the employer portion is a deductible business expense. You'll see that. That portion is a separate expense before you even get down to how much taxes are owed. Then if you follow along on this form, what it's doing is then it says multiply by the 1.53, which again is both sides, employer and employee. You're going to get an amount. Then it's going to tell you multiply by 50, so now you're only getting the employer portion, and that's the amount that's deductible. And that's just following this form all the way down. All right, so that's self-employment taxes and comparing it to, as an employee, how those taxes differentiate.